Hi, I'm Marianne Dainton, and I'm a professor of communication at LaSalle University. One of the things I teach my students is that there are lots of different ways to send messages. One of my favorite ways is to say it with food. In this show, I will combine two of my passions, interpersonal communication and cooking. So join me as I teach you how to send a message in the tastiest way possible, through food.
Today on Say It With Food, we're talking about breakups. And there's something that will really help you get over your aggression and feed that emptiness in the pit of your stomach. It's broken noodle lasagna. It's easy to do on the skillet, and it doesn't take all that much work, but you'll definitely see that it will help you get over some of the frustrations. In order to do broken noodle lasagna, you have to start with 10 lasagna noodles, and they need to be regular lasagna noodles, not any of that no-boil stuff. Some Parmesan cheese, some fresh mozzarella, 8 ounces, a small can of tomato sauce, and a large can of whole San Marzano tomatoes. The San Marzano tomatoes are really important because they give a richness and a depth to the flavor of the dish in ways that the quick cooking process wouldn't be able to do with any other type of tomato. And then we have some meatloaf mix. Meatloaf mix is a combination of pork, veal, and beef, but you can replace it with any type of ground meat you really like. 1 medium onion, or in this case I'm using half of a large onion, 3 or 4 garlic cloves, and a bunch of fresh basil. So let's begin. The first thing we need to do is actually preheat our stovetop. It's important that you use a skillet that can go into the stove as well, because we're going to start on the stove and finish in the oven. And then what I'm going to do is, while that is preheating, I'm going to cut up my onion and my garlic. So with the onion, take off the top and peel it. So we've got some onions we're going to put off to the side, and now we just need to slice the garlic. So our onion is minced and our garlic is sliced just in time to put it into the skillet, because I can start to hear the skillet talking to me, telling me that it's hot enough to cook. So I'm going to add some olive oil. You can see the way that olive oil is rippling, telling you that that skillet is plenty hot. So we just have to add our onions and garlic. While that's cooking, what we're going to do is start prepping our tomatoes. So we've got a can of San Marzano tomatoes. See if I can get my can opener to work here. Oops, not quite. Ah, got it that time. So here's one of those instances where you get some of your aggression out. We're going to pour the tomatoes into the can, or into the bowl rather, and then squeeze these suckers. You can imagine your ex's heart being in your hands if you want to get that gross, but you don't need to. Kind of gets out that aggression though. You really just need to squeeze these so that we're breaking up all of the large pieces. Again, unlike a long lasagna, this one's pretty quick and easy. So the tomatoes won't have a chance to break down as much as they would in an ordinary lasagna. Okay, that feels pretty good. And then let's add just a little bit more sauce. With an ordinary lasagna, you don't quite need that much sauce, but remember that we are just cooking these noodles right on the stove. So we need to have lots of liquid for those noodles to absorb and get tender. Okay, we've gotten our tomatoes all squeezed up, and we have our onions and garlic browning. Our next step is to actually start browning the meat, and here's where we do a little bit more breaking up, because this is going to go in as a whole lump of ground meat, and we've got to chop it into little pieces.
Steve Duck, a communication expert, broke down breaking up into 4 stages: intrapsychic, dyadic, social, and grave dressing.
This is an example of his first phase, when someone in a relationship realizes they are unsatisfied.
Like, I have to wonder, like, is it really worth it, or is single life gonna be better?
If I'm not listening, then it doesn't count. Yeah, right now I'm listening and I'll change. Seriously.
I need you to.
This is an example of the second phase. It emerges when the couple is confronted with the dissatisfaction experienced by one or both partners.
Fine. Forget it.
Jake,
Our next step is getting out even more of our aggressions. It's called Broken Noodle Lasagna for a reason, not just because it helps with breakups, but because we have to break all of the lasagna pieces into about 2.5 inches chunks. What we do next is just dump all of these broken noodles right on top of the meat. And then our next step is to pour all of this wonderful tomato sauce right on top of it all. Making sure to spread everything so that every piece of the lasagna noodles gets covered. And then just cover it for about 20 minutes. Okay, so I've got my casserole simmering on the stovetop for 20 minutes, and I've done a little cleanup. I thought it's time for me to clean up some of my past history related to breakups. All of us have a breakup story. My story's not so pretty. I was in my early 20s, and I was dating a guy named Dave. And Dave and I had been together for 2 years, and it came to one of those all-night-long conversations. You know what they're like. They're painful, they're miserable, everybody's crying. It's, should I stay or should I go? And in my memory, after that all-night conversation, what I remember him saying is, I'm not ready to let this go yet. So I thought everything was fine. The next day, Dave called me and he said, so what should we do? And I thought, I don't know, let's go out to dinner, I'm kind of hungry. And he was like, what are you talking about? We broke up last night. I'm like, what are you talking about? We reconfirmed our commitment to each other last night. So it goes to show that communication is never as simple, even when it comes to a breakup. All right, so we're almost done with our 20 minutes of the meat simmering with the sauce and the noodles, creating a fake lasagna that got out a lot of our aggression. Our next steps are actually to start slicing up some of the mozzarella cheese. We're going to dabble this on top and let it melt right into the lasagna.
So now that things look like they're progressing really well, we just add all of that mozzarella cheese right on top. No need to stir it in. We're looking for oozy goodness in every bite. And then we can add our chopped basil. Then we're going to cover it until the cheese melts.
Hey, what's going on? Long time no see.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
I heard you broke up with your boyfriend.
Oh, yeah.
This is an example of the third phase, when people go public about their breakup.
Feel like it was kind of over. Like, we weren't really happy with each other, and I don't know. I mean, you never know what the future can hold.
The final phase is the grave dressing phase, where people reflect on the relationship afterwards. This is usually done publicly.
With me? I could definitely do better. I think I could do better. No, I could definitely do better than her. Like, definitely.
Our next step is to grate some Parmesan on top. As much or as little as you'd like. The nice thing about Parmesan is that it's going to give a little bit of a crust to it after we throw it into the broiler. It's still bubbling away right now. We'll give it just a few more minutes to cool off before we dig into our delicious Broken Noodle Lasagna. For Say It With Food and LaSalle Television, I'm Dr. Marianne Dainton. Thank you and enjoy.